Welcome to a special. I don't know. It's breaking news. Oklahoma, number 8, college football playoffs. This is awesome. My name is Brandon Drum. That is Jesse Crittenden. You are watching OU Insider, listening to OU Insider special as Oklahoma, 8th in the college football playoffs. They are going to take on Alabama December 19th at 7 p.m. on a Friday night. Nonetheless, Friday Night Lights, Norman, Oklahoma. It's going to be exciting. Jesse, probably one of the biggest shockers of all was the fact that OU is playing Alabama again and that Oklahoma's 2.5 point favorite. Like, what the hell, man? Like, this is completely different than what you look back a month ago, and that's not at all what was expected.
No, I found myself, I screamed at the TV two different times during the selection show. The first one when they announced that it was going to be OU Bama, a rematch in the first round in Norman. And then the second one being Miami getting into the playoff against Notre Dame. I didn't think they would actually do it. I really didn't think they would do it. Miami probably deserves that, but there's, again, questions about why the committee does things the way they do things. But Brandon, before we get into anything, I think it's just worth to really note to take a second and just think about this turnaround for Oklahoma to go from 6-7 a year ago, losing in the Armed Forces Bowl, just a disastrous season, to
Yeah.
heading into college football, heading into Selection Sunday, not only knowing OU was in the field, but their chances of hosting were pretty good. It's just, in terms of 1 year turnarounds, it's been really impressive. And I think before we dive into anything, it's worth just to acknowledge how impressive this has really been.
I, Brent Venables was on the hot seat. I don't want to say hot seat because I don't think, as long as he won 7 or more games, which we all expected them to do this year, just because the roster was built for success. But anything less than that, he was probably gone. And he far superseded that. And I remember the over-under on wins was 7.5, which they got past that. And everybody nationally, they were like, look, this Oklahoma team is going to be really good. But the weird part is, Jesse, is everybody thought it was John Mateer. It's going to be good because of John Mateer, because of John Mateer. And that was correct the first 5 weeks of the season. He injures his thumb. And I think that's where the greatness of Brent Venables' coaching and the staff overall took hold, because they went, okay, we've gone down this route with subpar quarterbacking, right? Like, they've done this before. The defense, I think the year 2, the defense knowing exactly what they have to do and how they have to do it to win ball games was a big, big deal. And the fact that Brent Venables was calling the play, and 2, how much do we want to credit the fact that they're going the NFL route and really kind of, I guess, taking a lot of the pressure off the staff and allowing them just to coach. They don't have to recruit. What they do, they recruit, but they don't have to spend hours and hours scouting. Like, how much do you think that plays in where they're evaluating the opponent? They're scouting the opponent. The front office is helping them scout the opponent at the same time while scouting recruits and transfers and just allowing the coaches to be coaches and build relationships. How much do we think that played into this turnaround?
I think a lot, and I really think you can draw a direct correlation between the resources that OU put into this program after last season in terms of developing an entire front office staff, going out and getting Ben Arbuckle and John Mateer, the two guys that Brent Venables wanted to bring in to run this offense. I think it plays a big role when you watch the season and the way they've progressed. All of a sudden, they're winning these one-score games that they were losing all of the time in the first 3 years under Brent Venables. Think of the amount of times, not just last year, the first 3 years where OU inevitably shoots itself in the foot in a late game situation, a bad clock management by Brent Venables and the staff, just all these little things that pile up. And in this year, it's kind of been a 180. All of a sudden, OU has been finding those winning plays. There's been a lot of instances where this coaching staff has just simply been better than the coaching staffs that they're playing against. And I think a big reason for that is, all of these resources that OU has put in, this front office staff that has taken the load off this coaching staff. And I think and even John Mateer and Ben Arbuckle, it has not been great. Quite frankly, it hasn't been good enough. But I mean, they've made enough
Yeah.
plays to put OU in this position. So yeah, I think you can draw a direct correlation to all of the changes OU made after last year and where OU finds itself sitting now.
You talked about John Mateer not being good enough, and I think Ben Arbuckle gets a lot of the blame, but at the same time, you and I have watched up in the press box a lot, and we're like, dude was wide open. Like, what was he looking at? Like Arbuckle's been drawing up some really good things for the offense. It's just he hasn't connected consistently. But I think the one thing we can say, and I think you would agree with this, is that Mateer just wins. It's weird. Like if there's a big play that needs made in a big moment, even if he's crapped the bed, he makes it. You compare that to 2024, that was not the case. It was crap in the bed, start to finish. And it's not, that's not a knock on Hawkins or Arnold, because we all know the situation was at hand with the injuries at the offensive line, the injuries at the wide receiver, right? But as much as we knock Mateer, do we need to give him a little bit of the credit that he makes plays when they have to be made in big ball games, first downs that need to be made? He gets it. Touchdowns or scoring, big play. Like last week with Satania, yeah, it was a busted play, but you still have to complete the pass, right? Like I think it's not as easy as people think it. Oh, well, they're just pitch and catch. Nope, 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 nope. You've got dudes running at you. It's not that simple. So credit a little bit. As much as we don't think he's been good enough, he has been in bigger moments at times.
Yeah, I mean, make no mistake. I mean, the defense and special teams have obviously been
For sure.
the biggest part of why OU's here.
Yep.
But really, it's they have found a winning formula that works for them. And as much as the offense has been the biggest reason why these games are a lot of these games have been so close, you do
Yep.
at some point have to acknowledge that part of this winning formula does include John Mateer and this offense. And you know, and I think you saw it in that LSU game where the reason why that game was close was because of the 3 turnovers from John Mateer. But the
Yep.
reason why they ended up winning that game is because of his play late. And that's why I understand in the playoff era when you have to differentiate between teams. I can understand that narratives can become things and you have to start scrutinizing teams. But I really didn't understand all of these issues that these pundits were having about OU and specifically their offense and not being deserving or not, because
Mm-hmm.
OU's offense not being elite is not is a separate thing from whether OU is winning these games or not. And at some point you have to acknowledge that whatever has been working for OU has been working. It's why they are where they are. And a small but important part of that has been John Mateer in this offense. And at some point you can doubt this team if you want to, and I get it. If they lose, it's probably because their offense wasn't good enough. But
Yeah.
at some point, the proof's in the pudding. They won a ton of games that nobody expected them to win. And a lot of times it has been because the offense has made a play.
Yeah. They know their identity. And I think that's a lot of teams don't. They can get all through a whole season. They don't know their identity. OU
Mm-hmm.
is like, we own it. We're not very good on offense. But our defense and special teams probably gonna whoop your ass a little bit up and down and that's what they do. That's what they
Mm-hmm.
do, and that's okay. It's not pretty. Not a lot of people enjoy watching it, but the one thing you can't deny is that at the end of the game, they're notching another W in that win column, and that's kind of like the Ravens in 2000. OU in 2000 was a lot like that. They didn't win they won because of the defense a lot of times because Heupel's shoulder and arm was running out the last half of the season. 2002 Ohio State, 2011 Alabama, LSU. They won because their offenses were awful, but their
Mm-hmm.
defenses were spectacular, and that's where all of that goes into play. Where you can't just discredit defensive teams. Defense wins champ. They say it all the time, except for when it's convenient and when it's not pretty, right? Like it's funny how that works. Now, having said all that, you talked about how shocked you were that Alabama got in. We'd be remiss if we didn't talk about Notre Dame not getting in and Miami. Me, Parker, we've talked about this so much, waiting on pressers and stuff like this for the last few weeks. We kind of expected it to be a really close deal when they got head to head when it really mattered. But really, like, how shocked were you that Miami was the team that got in? basically on the grounds that the ACC was won by a team that is now 8-5, Jesse. 8-5.
I got to tell you, there's two parts of my brain working here, and
Yeah,
the first part of my brain says, is Miami getting in the right decision? Probably. It's probably
I
the
agree
right
with
decision.
that. Yep.
Probably the right decision. I vehemently disagree with the way that it happened. It just there's no line or logic to having Notre Dame ahead of them for a month. And then both teams didn't play yesterday,
Mm,
and now you've got Miami ahead of Notre Dame. I don't I hate that logic. I hate the way it played out. And I know the committee tried to go on TV and talk about how once BYU lost, that Notre Dame and Miami were side by side, and now you can use the head to head. All of that doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't
mm.
make sense that Alabama didn't move at all, despite getting their ass kicked, and BYU dropped completely out of the field, despite also getting their ass kicked. There's just a there's just a lack of through line, a lack of logic here, and to me. I really thought Bama got moved ahead of Notre Dame last week on Tuesday. I thought they moved ahead of Notre Dame to specifically avoid a
Yeah,
first round rematch between Oklahoma and Alabama. I thought like that was the only thing that made sense to me is, oh, they're doing that so there's not a rematch. But now you've got
the
two
rematch.
rematches in the first round. I don't get it, but the other part of me says OU Alabama this time at OU. It was a really close game in Tuscaloosa. Both of these offenses are struggling, not just Oklahoma's. Alabama's has been pretty bad over the last month. It's going to be a close game. It's going to be electric. So the fan part of me is excited for this matchup. The
Yeah.
logical part of me is questioning how we got here.
So quickly, just try to make this real quick with you and me both here. I think Oklahoma matches up great with Alabama again. I think the fact that they can't run the ball. I know OU's best is the run defense, but I think they've proven over the last several weeks that their secondary is starting to, they've been challenged and they've stepped up to the challenge, particularly in the second half against Alabama. And I think Alabama's, you can probably credit Oklahoma a lot for what's happened to Alabama the last few
Mm-hmm.
weeks because I think they showed everybody kind of the recipe and how to attack Alabama's offense and how to get after them. Because up to that point, Alabama was just going all over everybody and doing everything they wanted to at will after the Florida State game.
Mm-hmm.
They play Oklahoma in what was supposed to be just an absolute dominant game for Alabama. And OU said, nope, that's not, you can take all the yards you want, but you're not going to get in the end zone. And then in the second half, you're just not going to have yards at all. 80, I think it was 82 total yards in the second half or something to that extent. Something absurd. But the OU matches up well. I think if you get R. Mason Thomas back, that's got to scare Alabama a little bit more. The fact you're playing in Norman, the weather's going to be cold. OU's going to be used to it because they've been around it here the last few weeks. There's a lot of things playing in Oklahoma's favor. However, we go back to this John Mateer thing, Jesse. Turnovers. Oklahoma got Alabama the first time around, and we can go back, and I want everybody to remember I said this. If Oklahoma is minus anything in the turnover margin with Alabama, they will not win the ball game.
Mm-hmm.
They will not win that ball game. That game is going to be predicated on who can turn who over. You know, I guess Ty has been turning the ball over a little bit more than
Mm-hmm.
normal after the OU game. I think he had one interception up to that point, right? The whole year.
That sounds right. Yeah, that sounds right. I I think in what you said earlier about I think Oklahoma should get a lot of credit for what's happened to Bama's offense since that game. I mean, over the last
Yeah.
month against their FBS teams, against Power Four teams, they're averaging 72 yards rushing yards on the ground per
Oh,
game, averaging under 23 points per game. And when you watch that Georgia game, it played that last night, the SEC title game, it played out a lot like that OU Bama game in Tuscaloosa. I mean, Georgia just sold out relentlessly every play, getting pressure on Ty Simpson. That's
yep.
what OU did in Tuscaloosa. I mean, OU had 4 sacks in that game. It's a big reason why they had the 3 turnovers. Georgia last night just over and over sent blitzes, repeatedly got pressure on Ty Simpson. So yeah, if you're Oklahoma, I don't think you have to change that much from that game to this one. I think you can largely play it out the same way. And especially if you get R. Mason Thomas back, I think you can feel all kinds of confidence that you can replicate that defensive effort, even if you don't get the turnovers. So the question is, can OU's offense just avoid the mistakes that
Yep.
they avoided against Tuscaloosa? That's really that's what this game is going to come down to. I think Alabama will make some plays just like they did in Tuscaloosa. But I think OU's defense will win that battle more than not. It's just going to be, can OU avoid the turnovers and can they capitalize when put in good positions? And that's kind of what the story of that Tuscaloosa game was. And I don't have any reason to think it won't be that way here in a couple weeks.
It's 2 weeks out. Like, we don't know the injury. Alabama's banged up. They are banged up,
Yes, they
very
are.
banged up. And it doesn't sound like it's going to get much better over the next few weeks for them. Like, people are like really, really banged up for them. If you were to guess right now, you were to predict right now, OU's favorite 2.5. Do you feel confident that Oklahoma can win that ball game and go to the freaking Rose Bowl?
Go to
What?
the Rose Bowl. I don't I don't know why you wouldn't feel like Oklahoma can win that game. To me,
Mhm.
I almost looked at all of these potential first round matchups the same way. OU's defense is going to keep them in any game they play. It's just going to be about the offense. And as much as I think that Alabama defense is good, I also think Georgia did some things last night that OU can replicate in some ways
Yeah.
when it comes to, running the ball, quick passing game, that kind of stuff. I think it's going to be a dogfight again. I really think it could go either way. I think even with Bama banged up, I'm sure they're going to have all kinds of motivation for that game. But if you're Oklahoma, if you can get just a little bit more healthy, you're at home. Brent Venables made it clear on the or in his Zoom conference after the rankings came out today. They're playing with a chip on their shoulder. They have heard all of the noise about them not belonging there, the offense not being good enough. They're going to be just as motivated to play that game. I think it's a pick 'em, but I don't know why you wouldn't believe in Oklahoma. They beat this Alabama team already. They have a winning formula that works. I don't know why you wouldn't be confident.
You brought that up real quick. I have to, like, that was one of the most awkward back and forths, by the way, when he said, I'm asking the question. I'm not going to talk about the reporter or whatever that got in there and answered the question or anything like that, but because I don't think that's relevant here. But you could tell Brent was pissed. Like, he was visibly frustrated with everybody just undermining what they've accomplished
Mhm.
this season. I will take that Brent Venables team over just about everybody because for some odd reason, he does a really good job of making sure the chip on your shoulder OU teams somehow, some way go in and they win the ball game. I don't know what
Mhm.
it is about him, but he has a way of uplifting and making the team feel slighted, even if they're not. He
Mhm.
will make them feel slighted. But now they have the ammo, Jesse. Like, they literally have the ammo of everybody feeling like they don't belong, and you see it over and over and over. Um, you talk about the confidence. I I'm just excited to see the atmosphere.
Mhm.
This is the first time Oklahoma's got to experience this. You would expect it to be pretty electric. So we're going to have a lot to talk about here over the next few weeks. Excited. Oklahoma hosting a college football playoff game for the first time in program history and against none other than Alabama, its SEC foe that they beat 3 weeks prior. So lots to talk about, lots to cover over on OU Insider VIP. All you have to do is type in ouinsider.com into your URL. You can go click that join now for $1 right now. Seriously, $1 for the first few days. If you don't like it, we think you will. Jesse's got you covered with team stuff each and every day. Parker and I have the insider stuff as far as injuries, uh, recruiting, all that type of intel. Brody Lusk and Jesse with the basketball intel on a daily basis as well. We will have softball and baseball covered for you, top to bottom. But you won't get it anywhere better than ouinsider.com on 3 Network. Thank you guys so very much. Just again, type in ouinsider.com. Join us over there. We're one of the top and busiest sites on the network, all because of you all. So thank you guys very, very much. For Jesse Crittenton, my name is Brandon Drum. We will be seeing you guys over the next few weeks as we talk about this matchup leading into the first round of the college football playoffs. You guys have a blessed day.